Luke 12:13 is our gospel reading for today as it comes from the lectionary, and it fits in exactly with Pastor Bruce is going to be sharing with us in just a couple of minutes. What we're going to be talking about today is a little different than what we generally hear, and that is that money actually can make you happy when you use it in the way that God intends it. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." Now that's interesting already. This man comes to Jesus, and it's a very normal and probably a fairly common request. When you have a family decision to be made, or even a financial decision that needed an arbitrator, it would not be unusual to go to your local rabbi, these were wise men, and say, "Help me with this, and give us a judgment and tell the other party to be fair." But instead of acquiescing to that request, Jesus comes back with a couple of warnings. First of all, "Who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" which probably surprised the guy over there. Then he says, "Watch out." Secondly, "Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, because a man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." That probably isn't the first time you've heard that. But there's a part of it that says, yeah, it kind of does. The quality of my life and how I measure up against other people, actually, the quality of my life is a direct function of how many possessions and how much money that I have. And then Jesus presses on. He tells a story. He tells them a story that is thrown down the side, that the purpose is to engage their thinking, to get them into this conversation. He told them this parable. "The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, 'What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops.' Then he said, 'This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I'll say to myself, in plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry.'" And again, Jesus has a response other than we may be expecting. If we heard of a man like that, we would say, that's a good businessman. Acquired some really good fertile land, got together a group of talented workers, harvested the crops, wisely sold some, consumed some, put some away for retirement. And then when he had yet more crops, he made more plants, tear down the old silos, put up new silos, and I'm going to be comfortable for the rest of my life. We may expect Jesus to say, now that's a wise man. But he doesn't, does he? Quite the opposite. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself, but is not rich toward God. So what's the problem here? Jesus is very clearly saying what Augustine said many, many years ago, that we have been created to love God, to use things, to get ourselves into hot water. We have a lot of problems when we begin to use God and we begin to love things. And how easily in our culture, how naturally we get into the flow of the way most people believe, or at least many people believe. And that's actually how we begin to live. The problem here is that both of these men have it backwards. First man is much more concerned about what he's going to be getting in his inheritance than about his brother and his brother's family. let's reread just a little bit of that parable. Then he said, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and I will store all my grain and my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. Beginning to use God to love money. Jesus straightens him out. If you want some good financial advice, secularly speaking, Susie Orman, you may see her on public broadcasting system. She's written some really good financial books. We have one of her books, Young, Fabulous, and Broke. We gave it to each one of our kids. Very, very good financial advice. Good way to get people that aren't very financially astute started. But Susie Orman says one thing, in fact, two things, that I really do disagree with. Every time I hear her say it, it kind of grates on me. She talks about the purpose of money. You ever think about that? I mean, God gives us money. There can't be anything inherently evil in itself, money, possessions that God's given them to us. But what is the purpose of your possessions? What is the purpose of your money? And Susie Orman says the purpose of money is to make you feel secure. And the purpose of money is to make you feel powerful. It does that sometimes when we have possessions and money. In fact, we may surround ourselves with a lot of possessions because we feel more secure. And we do feel more powerful. And money does give you a certain amount of power that you would have if you didn't have the money. But if you take it to an illogical extreme, or if you can stop and think about it, money can't make you secure. Money can't give you ultimate power. We are ultimately in God's hands. So here's the point in the sermon, where the pastor says, money is the root of all evil. If you get greedy, and then, it's going to cause all kinds of problems. You can't serve God and mammon. And it's not that those things aren't true, because Jesus says those things. And he says it because he loves us and wants us to use what we have in ways that will give us a good life, but even more please him, further the kingdom. The problem is not that they're not true. The problem is we've said them so often they become trite to us. They're not trite sayings, they're trite to us. And we roll our eyes because there's a part of us that kind of doesn't really believe that. But today, let's flip that over. Let's say that money actually can make you happy. Because that's our experience too. And I know you have it. That the way that you use your possessions and the way that you use your money, if you use them as the Holy Spirit leads you to, it makes you happy. One way is when you're grateful. I had that wonderful song during the offertory today. That grateful part. If there is an antidote to stinking thinking and bad attitudes in life, even secular people, non-God-loving and fearing people will tell you one of the things you can do is cultivate gratitude. Have you seen that? Showing up in magazines, showing up on the internet, the way to a better life. And people that have nothing to do with God say cultivate gratitude, because that's the thing that breaks the back of greed. And there are those times in our lives, and hopefully we have them every Sunday if we stop. And we are so grateful to God. That's good. And another way is that instead of holding what we have with a tight fist, when we give some of what we have away, it really makes us happy. What Bruce is talking about this morning, by the time we move out of here, we're going to be smiling. I am smiling right now. Because we're going to see that when a church or an individual takes some of that treasure, listens to God, and gives some to somebody else, makes us so much happier than hanging on to it all for ourselves. And I know that's the kind of thing you expect a preacher to say on Sunday morning. But you have done it, and you know what I'm talking about. For the story. Businessman, apparently a true story. Businessman is on a commercial flight. And it becomes known to him that on that same flight are 10 servicemen returning from deployment. So he's sitting there on that plane, and he realizes that one of these returning servicemen is sitting on the aisle across from him, and the flight attendant came by selling food. I'm not going to give you food. I'm not going to give you nothing. But $5 and you can buy this lunch. And he heard one of the servicemen saying, I don't have $5, or I'm not going to spend $5 on lunch. And so he calls the flight attendant over, gives her $50 to buy lunch for all the servicemen. So they all get lunch. The word began to spread through the plane. So when the guy gets off the plane, people are standing there giving him money. The pilot comes out of the cockpit, takes $20, and says, I want in on that. Gives him $20. So by the time the guy gets off the plane, he's giving away $50 and he's got $80. You know what he did? Went out and bought him a steak at Elway's. No, he didn't do that. I just want to see, not at Elway's, you're not. I just want to see if you're listening. So then he takes the $80 and he gives it back to the serviceman and says, now go off that way. That's an example of what we're talking about. And again, I know that's the kind of thing you expect the pastor to say on Sunday morning. But we do that, and we experience that, and we experience that as a church. What really gives us joy, what gives this church meaning, we spend all kinds of money around this place. You know, we've got salaries to pay and utilities and all kinds of things. But what gives us purpose and joy and meaning in our lives isn't going to be the new door we just put on the nursery, although it's nice. It's not going to be the automatic handicap door openers that we just put on the bathrooms, although they're essential. What makes us walk out of here and throughout the week with a glow in our hearts saying, that's what I want to be about, that's what I want my church to be about, that's what Jesus is talking about, is when we pull it out and we say, here, let me give you some of this. Let me invest this in your life, in your joy, and in your kingdom.